It's time for the Ron and Brian Podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night. It is 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and it is time for episode 275 of the Ron and Brian podcast. And look who has decided to show up this week. My co-host, my compadre, my quote-unquote friend, Brian. How are you tonight, Brian?
Listen, Ron, I'm doing great. First off, kudos to you. Congratulations to you. Festivities, and in all honesty, an unlimited number of amount of respect from one broadcaster to another. I was fortunate enough this past week to spend 1 hour and 7 minutes with the one and only Ron as I watched episode 274, where you did it all by yourself. And I just want to say, I think you did a heck of a job. There have been some grumblings. I mean, we'll get to it later.
Sure.
Some people, not everybody was on board,
No.
but I want you to know that the voice that counts the most, mine, as champion of the Ron and Brian podcast, I think you did a heck of a job.
Well, and I appreciate that, but more so, I appreciate you deciding that this podcast was worth your time and coming back to. There were listeners that reached out to me this past week, and they said, Ron, we're concerned that you and Brian are never, ever, ever going to get back together again. And here we are. We are together once again, ready to do the podcast. I mean, I guess my only question to you, Brian, is, are you sorry?
I'm not sorry. Ron,
Okay.
You need to calm down. You need to calm down.
Brian,
I'm
Band-Aids
here now.
don't fix bullet holes, Brian, and you say sorry just for show.
Right now, you're talking to the man, okay? And I think that, you want this to be a love story, but I think that, you just, at the end of the day, as champion, I need to remind you that you belong with me.
All right. Well, let's just get right back into it. See if we can capture
Yes.
that rhythm again with Drink of the Week.
Drink of the Week.
Na zdrowie!
Salud.
Drink of the Week.
Who's?
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
Brian,
Drink of the week.
what are you drinking this week, my friend?
Ron, once again, we are reminded of the month when we look at the calendar. There's only one beer that I could be drinking right now, and that's on Oktoberfest beer, as we are still in the month of October. Today, we go all the way over to Bavaria, where we take out an Ayinger.
All of the above.
All of the above. We're going to go with. I'm going to call it an Ayinger for the purpose of this. We're looking at an Ayinger Oktoberfest Marzen beer. Once again, I had a different one. I believe it was Paulaner last week. Look at the beauty of this color. It's got a deep golden color on, tinted with amber. It's lightly sweet. It's got a malty nose, balanced with floral hops. It's a medium to big body. The alcohol is not overpowering. The soft dryness comes with a long maturation. You're looking at a 5.8 ABV. Beer Advocate says it's got a 90 score out of 100. Brian's drinking Ayinger Oktoberfest.
Oh, I am looking forward to it. Looking forward to hearing how you like it.
Oh, I like this.
Okay, well, that's good.
It's not too overpowering. It does have that maltiness, but it is not hoppy. To me, this is a crushable Oktoberfest beer.
Interesting.
Ron,
Yes,
my
my friend. Yes.
what are you drinking?
So I went into the beer fridge. One that I had gotten last year. I believe I've had this on the show. It's a collab, Brian. We love collabs around here. Between Workhorse Brewing and Cape May Brewing. This is cut from the same cloth. This is their Cold Black India Pale Ale. From the blue-collar pride and drive of PA to the creative and service-centric minds of the Jersey Shore, cut from the same cloth is a collaboration brew between Workhorse Brewing Company and Cape May Brewing Company. This Cold Black IPA takes two traditional styles, lager and Northeast IPA, and combines them to create an entirely new way to imbibe. This is clocking in at 6%, Brian. Let me reach over here and get the beer. I mean, take a look at that beer, Brian.
Ooh.
Look at the body. Look at the head on that. I mean, it just looks fantastic. So let me.
Can I see that beer again? Can I just see that
Yeah.
that color of that beer again?
You like that?
Looks,
How's that look to you? Something wrong?
looks delicious.
All right.
Take
Well, let me have a
Let me
sip
know
here.
what you think. I mean, that is just such a beautiful color.
Oh, that, I remember this now. I remember having this on the show before, and it was really good. I'm going to take a second sip.
Please take another sip. Another sip, Ron.
Full-bodied, rich. Even at 6%, not too much alcohol. What's on my hand? Oh, it's just nothing. It's the number 13. If you know, you know. But Brian, a great beer. Just really recommend this collaboration between Workhorse and Cape May. It's going to be a good night, Brian. That's all I can say. It's going to be a good night. But let's get the ugly stuff out of the way with our beef of the week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
I feel like a hypocrite, Ron.
Why? Why is that, Brian? Talk to me.
I feel like a hypocrite because as friends of the show, as listeners of the show, people who follow my life closely, they are going to know that within the past couple of months, I've made a major transition in life from a renter of my housing situation to a homeowner.
Right, exactly.
I followed the great Michael Scott. I went out and, bought myself a condo. So, I'm now following a path that many Americans have, yourself included. I know that over the course of the 23 years that we've been doing this podcast, one of the recurring beefs that you've brought to the table and to which I have mocked mercilessly is your complaints about home renovations.
Right. I mean, I could build a castle out of all the bricks you threw at me regarding that.
I'm going to take the blame. I'm going to take the blame for my casting of aspersions towards you. When, in hindsight, I wasn't in any place. I should have been listening. I was talking, and what I needed to do was hear you.
You had to listen. I get it.
Yeah. So last week, the very first phase of the home renovations took place, which was the floors. So I've got a 2-bedroom condo here in lovely New Jersey. Just had to get out of New York. I know people are going to wonder what happened to me, but it was a step up in life.
Right.
To make a long story short, I have absolutely no idea where 98% of my belongings are right now. The number of boxes that exist that have been carried from room to room to room to room is outrageous. I'm lucky that I have a bed to sleep on at this point, and it is with humbleness, which I believe is a word, that I offer you my apologies for every time you were complaining about something having to do with the home renovation not going your way. And I spoke to you in a tone that was it was coming from a place of jealousy,
Right.
clearly. But at this point, I can honestly say home renovations, no, I'm not cut out for it. Flooring done, almost done, excuse me. And at some point, we will be addressing the painting that needs to take place. As you can see behind me, what looks to me like a greenish hue. It's actually a blue. There's yellow lights on in this room, so needs think drastic changes are among us at any moment. Anywho, home renovations, not my cup of tea. Ron,
Yes.
what's bothering you?
Well, first, let me just let you know how your words have touched me tonight, Brian. Your apology definitely accepted. It takes a very strong individual to be able to kind of take a step back and say, "It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me," and that's what you just did. Kudos to you, my friend. Kudos. But for me, Brian, and it may seem petty, it may seem petty, and I have many shopping related beefs of the week, it would seem. But my beef of the week this week, Brian, is just about every individual that was at the Costco in Warminster, PA this morning. I got there right when it opened up, figuring it would be, hopefully less chaotic than it is. And it's just the lack of, I guess, presence that people have when they shop in Costco. Like I've always, my theory is you should always move through a store, grocery store, Costco, Sam's Club, BJ's, World Market, whatever, like you're driving in a car. Cart, right hand side. If you're in an aisle and it's a side aisle and you come up on a main aisle, you don't cut off somebody in the main aisle. They've got the right of way.
Sure.
So why people need to go, families of 7 with 3 carts that then stand shoulder to shoulder as they move through the aisles, but slowly, so very slowly, or the people that will just sit there and not move anything, or just, put their cart in one location while they look at 17 other things in 13 different aisles. It was absolutely infuriating today, Brian. Should have been a quick shopping trip. 45 minutes, Brian. 45 minutes to maneuver through, get the items I needed, and get out of there.
Do that again for me, please.
What's that? Oh yeah, just my fist was in the air, angry.
What were you picking up? Was it worth the 45 minutes?
I mean, there are things we buy in bulk. We buy cat litter in bulk. Obviously, we have a number of cats here. Garbage bags. This was a big one. This was detergent. It was fabric softener. It was lawn bags. It was wood pellets for my smoker. Wings. I wanted to get some fresh wings. No infused oils this time, Jojo, but a good call. I will get those if necessary. Dishwasher tablets. Do you have a dishwasher in the new?
Yes,
do you do liquid or do you do tablets?
I go tablets.
Perfect. All right.
I like to just pop a little tablet and close the door and go off. What happens with liquid is it just starts to drip down, and then you just get that reservoir of gook that builds up.
And also, I don't know about you, but I like my Costco because they don't move stuff around, so I know exactly where everything is. So as long as I can just uninterruptedly make that loop around the entire store and then get in line and hit the cash registers, I should be able to get out of there 15, 20 minutes tops.
Makes total sense.
I don't need samples, Brian. I don't want to eat anything. I don't want anything handed to me. I don't want to feel tissue paper. I don't want any of that, Brian.
But what is your take on the people who go to Costco and go for the samples and sit there and wait for each, tray of cheese on a cracker, or crab dip on a cracker?
So if you're just walking by and you grab a sample and continue to move, much like a marathon runner grabbing water from a station without actually stopping, I'm okay with that. If you're standing there eating in front of the display, or if you're, for whatever reason, waiting for whatever free crap they're going to put out, I think you just need to really evaluate your life. Just my personal opinion.
Ron, I think you just need to tolerate it.
You know what it is? I just need to calm down. I'm just being too loud.
That's
and
okay.
I apologize.
That's all right.
What else do we have? Oh, you were kind enough to send these in from across the pond last week. Before it gets too late, let's look back on our NFL lock.
Locks.
Brian, I have to congratulate you. Even though you were not in the country, you were in a whole other time zone, a whole other point. I mean, you knew what was going on. You knew San Francisco, a hot start to the season. You knew that it had to come to an end. You took Cleveland +3 against the Niners. They didn't need those points. They won the game outright 19-17. And then Jacksonville coming back across the pond from spending a week and a half in London. You said this is just going to strengthen them. It's not going to weaken them. You took Jacksonville -4.5, and they won big against the Colts 37-20. Again, how do you do it when you're not even in the States to really be in the mix of the NFL chatter?
Ron, I'm only trying to keep up with you. This is, to me, I am literally sitting there exacerbated, trying to just keep up with you. You also went 2-0 last week. You sat there, you saw the Lions laying 3 against the Bucks. You saw the Rams -4.5 over the Cardinals. You said to yourself, listen, I don't even need the AFC this week. I'm just sticking to the NFC. I'm carving out half of the entire sport because I don't need them. I'm going to find 2 winners on this side of the league. Lions win 20-6. The Rams win 26-9. You are now 12-0 for this season. Ron, how do you do it?
You know what? I just continue to do what I do. And listen, when I walk in the room, I can still make the whole place shimmer.
Special. Very, very special. Congratulations.
No, congratulations to you. But who do you like next weekend? Who are your locks for week 7 next weekend?
My 2 games are going to be I like the Raiders laying only a point over the Bears. I think the Bears are the worst team in the league. Raiders showed a lot of spunk this week. Also, in Indianapolis, the Colts, I think they're still playing in Indianapolis. I'm not even sure. But they got decimated by the Jaguars this week, showing no life whatsoever. I believe that continues next week. They are getting 2.5 points against the Browns. That's not enough points. I say you go Raiders, you go Browns, and you just continue steamrolling. Those are my locks of the week. What about you, buddy?
I like Washington had a nice comeback game against Atlanta. I like Washington -1.5 going into the Meadowlands to face the New York Giants, which are just an abysmal team. And my new personal favorite team, Brian, the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm really high on them now. -6 against the Chargers.
Understandably, they've got a very strong quarterback. Their wide receiver crew is just strong. What do you think about their tight end situation this year?
Listen, their tight end is the tightest end that I've seen, and he's a killer. So, Kansas City -6, lock it up.
There you go.
Right?
Is it yes?
Yeah, no, go ahead. You were going to say something.
I was going to say, is it okay if we get to some of the viewer emails? They've been building up. It's something where I feel like we have been negligent. You and I have talked about repeatedly doing an episode purely of viewer emails.
Right.
We stash them aside, and then somehow a lot of them just, they're time sensitive, and it is just a matter of there's only so much you can get to in 1 hour of content.
Sure.
This past week, episode 274 was just, it generated so much, interest from the fans, from viewers, from listeners. So many people wrote in about it, and I really wanted to see if we could get to a couple of these.
Listen, let's get caught up on some of these things. Let's clean up, and then we can move forward.
All right, we're going to start with Jim J from Ohio, who writes, longtime listener, first time writer, episode 274, UGG, an episode of Only Ron, Snooze Fest, bring back Brian. Jim J did not seem to appreciate your solo episode last week. Kind of hurtful to refer to it as the Snooze Fest. I thought it was
Yeah.
fascinating.
I mean, I appreciate it. I'm damned if I do give a damn what people say.
Sure, sure. Here, let's jump to another one. I'm sure this
All right.
is a little bit more positive. Benjamin N from Tel Aviv. We talked about how we are global. We talk about how worldwide people are across the whole planet are following the show. We all the way from Tel Aviv, an area where there's a lot of activity going on. We'll get to later the Middle East situation, terrible. Benjamin N writes, "Hey guys, last week's episode was offensive to all members of the Jewish faith. Ron, what did you do? I don't remember you doing anything
I
to the
don't
Jewish
remember.
faith."
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll just start again. Hey guys, last week's episode was offensive to all members of the Jewish faith. Israel suffers a tragic loss of over 1,200 innocent lives at the hands of the vile terrorist group Hamas, and Ron feels that it's more important to talk about the failures of the U.S. Republican Party in Congress and their failure to nominate a Speaker of the House. The insensitivity he showed to the families of those lost were an insult which should cause him to be kicked off the show. What a vile pig.
Well, I mean, I think I've seen this film before, and I didn't like the ending. You're not my homeland anymore. So what am I defending now?
Wow. I'm just going to do one more because it's just I thought I would be able to get a mix of pro people that were fans of your solo show. Let's see.
Right.
We have Donald T from Palm Beach, Florida. I wonder what Donald T reached out to us and had to say. Here he says, "Great job by Ron last week." All right, Ron, you got a fan. Donald T in Palm Beach. That is heavily MAGA country down there. Wonder what Donald T had to say. Great job by Ron last week. He really showed the critics that he could knock out an episode all by himself without Brian's lame antics.
That seems a little mean. I don't know that I would agree with that.
A lot of people down here are saying that Ron couldn't pull it off, but he did. My only issue with it was that he leaned too heavily on the use of videos to supplement his voice. It felt lazy to us that he kept interrupting himself to play a video constantly. First, there was some TikTok, then a car crashing into a police station. Then he replayed a long clip from Dave Hill from a previous episode, followed by another video of some Florida finest mothers who threw a baby around, and then yet another video of some stupid YouTuber who couldn't understand science. It was ridiculous. Melania and I counted a little over 9 minutes of videos, which would have never been needed if Brian was on the show. Ron may have felt good about his hour and 7-minute episode, but it only counted as 58 minutes to me. That seemed odd. Donald T started off complimenting
it really went all over the place.
But it feels like he ended it by pointing out that you only actually did 58 minutes of content.
I will hold firm that my hour and 7 minutes, is solid. I would just say to Donald T, just between us, did the love affair maim you too?
I hope, I think, I thought that your episode would bring people together. It was going to be one of healing. It was going to be an episode where we were all going to get together. But, it just, I would have to say that at the end of the day, Ron, you can't be delicate. You have to accept that, some people are going to be enchanted with you and some aren't. At the end of the day, you just got to, hold your head up high.
Listen, I think it's indicative of what we see across this country. We think that there is connection, but there is division all over the place.
Always. What else, Ron? What do we have? I think can we put that behind us, because that was a hurtful segment.
Let's get to our stories of the week to make sure we don't lose track of them. These are the stories that we find that we think are just, I don't want to say they're necessarily special, but they're just things we don't want to make. We want to make sure they don't fall through the cracks. So, Brian, what is your story of the week this week?
Ooh, my story of the week is something that I have been railing about for quite a long time, not just on this show, but in personal life. Anybody listen that's willing to listen to me rant. A study came out recently, according to data from Unusual Whales, which is a online account that tracks the stock trading by members of the U.S. Congress, that is, senators and House of Representatives. And a report that they just put out said that stock trades by members of Congress have tumbled more than 75% in the first 9 months of this year compared to 12 months ago. One of the things that we have said, you and I, a lot of times we speak as one voice.
Sure.
Is just the absolute criminal activities that members of Congress who have information regarding government initiatives, who have information regarding military activities and trade figures, are actively trading stocks using information that is provided to them that is not publicly known. We can all go back to February of 2020 and go through a long list of congressional representatives who went into massive sales of their stocks as the coronavirus was spreading outside of China throughout the world, prior to any type of real public warning about the severity of what it was going to be. You've got people like Nancy Pelosi who have become multi millionaires while in office. Anyway, one of the things that we like to see here is the right thing being done, and what it looks like is happening is we've got people in Congress for two reasons, according to Unusual Whales. They are saying, A, that members of Congress are expecting that the outrage amongst the people, yourself, myself, obviously listeners of the show, who have heeded my call to arms, have sat there and reached out to their public representatives and said that we demand an end to the ability of Congress people to trade stocks, especially in areas where they are privy to information not publicly known, as well as a fear amongst the congressional stock traders that there is going to be investigations by the SEC of insider trading that may become criminal, let alone civil fines and whatnot. So this is power to the people. Speak your truth, speak your voice. Some good does come from it. Ron, what is your story of the week? I'm sure that it's something equally important to the rights of the average American to be able to hold their head up high and be understood that they are represented by people who are looking for the best of this country. I'm sure you are reporting something at that level.
Brian, we look around the world for our stories, and this is actually going over to Italy, where an Italian motorist was left in excruciating pain after a motorcycle crash dislodged his testicle and sent it up into his body. This was detailed in a study by BMJ Case Reports. The unidentified 20-something patient got into a motorcycle accident in Italy. The impact reportedly forced his right testicle out of the scrotum and through the inguinal canal, a small passageway in the groin, before it finally settled in the abdomen. The patient was brought to the hospital, where it was revealed that he had a large mass of clotted blood in the scrotum, preventing medics from properly examining his genitals after they drained the blood. They also tended to some other injuries, which included a severe pelvic fracture. And then a CT scan, Brian, showed the truth in this photo here. If you look at that red circle in the upper right-hand portion of the body under the stomach, that is where his testicle ended up.
It's odd because it appears like it's an invisible string coming from there.
It's so that apparently is part of his urinary tract that was also still connected. Shockingly, the testicle was forced out of the scrotum, but was not disconnected. Which was key in him being able to recover. Doctors warmed the organ before locking it back into socket via a procedure called an orchidopexy.
Did the doctors say anything about when he can have sex again?
So 6 months after the accident, his equipment had returned to normal, didn't impact his hormone or semen production, and apparently he was much better. Excellent question from William. Would you rather have this happen or a degloving of the penis? 100%. I'd take a testicle in my abdomen versus a degloving.
Of course. For those who are not members of our Patreon, just Google degloving and you will understand one of the worst possible injuries that can happen to a man's penis.
I mean, I'd be hard pressed.
This reminds me of that. Hold on. This reminds me of that Michael Jackson joke where the doctor says, after Michael Jackson and his wife had that kid, Michael says, "Hey, doc, how soon until we can have sex again?" And the doctor was like, "Michael, you got to wait until the kid's at least 18. Boom.
Very right.
I know I cut you off for that joke. That's
you did. You interrupted where we're going.
You should be so offended right now.
So Brian, you mentioned I did not bring up the story of Israel and what's going on in the Middle East soon enough last week. So let's get right to it.
No. We have to address something else. There's a bigger elephant in the room.
Is there than Israel?
The entire
Israel, Hamas, Palestine, the Gaza Strip. What in your mind is bigger at this point in time than that?
Ron, can you do this again with your right hand?
I'm gesturing, Brian. You've got me so enraged.
Can you do this with your left hand?
I can do that with my. You got me so angry.
Can you please explain to me why you are wearing bracelets around your right arm and why you have the number 13 written on your left?
I mean, I have friends, Brian, and friends sometimes give me friendship bracelets. And I understand you get very jealous of my other friends. But you know, we exchanged some bracelets this weekend. So if you want to say that makes me less of a man, fine, but that's just my friends.
You are not getting away with sometimes we exchange bracelets. When would you have been exchanging bracelets this week?
You know, it was a busy weekend. There was a lot of stuff going on. I'm not exactly sure when things may or may not have happened.
So we're not going to talk about it? Is that what's going on?
Well, I assume you're referring to the fact that my wife asked me to accompany her yesterday to the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie.
Yes.
Which I mentioned on last week's episode, so it's not necessarily a big secret that I was going to this movie.
And I'm concerned as to why you have the number 13 written on your arm. First off, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know what the significance of 13 is, other than Lucky 13. Great song by the band Spoiler NYC. Shout out to Mr. Christopher Saletti, if he's still watching. Also, the friendship bracelets, I also believe are something else that is also Taylor Swift related, but I do not understand them. So if there's any possible way that you can explain to me in detail for the next 25 minutes, what was it like as a man in his early 50s with just a gorgeous head of hair to attend the Taylor Swift Eras movie in a movie theater opening weekend, if I'm correct?
Opening weekend.
Walk me through this, please.
So my wife had gotten 2 tickets to the 11 a.m. showing at AMC Plymouth Meeting out at the Plymouth Meeting Hall out here in the Philadelphia suburbs. Last time we were at that movie theater, we were seeing Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. Much different movie experience this time.
Sure. Sure.
Um,
You didn't feel the sense of anxiety during this movie, like like what is she going to do next, as opposed, whereas in Adam Sandler was, like, will the Celtics cover the points?
There, not that type of anxiety. We'll
Okay.
get to that though.
Okay.
So, and also apparently all the screens were Taylor Swift at this movie theater.
Sure.
So like every half hour there was a new showing.
Sure. Well, did one thing I heard, and I'm not having to address the experience of seeing this movie, but I did read an article online about how Taylor Swift, Nepo baby, if I'm not correct. Like, her parents are millionaires. She is not a rags to riches story that they try to project. I believe her father is like the head of a record label. If Matt Ballerman can look that up. But they are very good business people.
All right.
Anyway, hold on. Her father works at Merrill Lynch. Excuse me. Her father is Scott Swift. He's worked for decades at the legacy wirehouse Merrill Lynch, still registered there as a financial advisor. Very smart guy. Anywho, they brought the idea of the movie to Hollywood and sat there and said, listen, we want to, when this tour is over, we are going to put out a movie. We want to film a couple of the concerts. We want to put together a movie. We want to show it in movie theaters. They received the different offers that the Hollywood studios put forth, and sat there and said, you know what, your terms are bullshit. There's absolutely no reason why you are going to take this kind of cut. Taylor's management reached out directly to AMC and said, we are going to deliver a finished product. There is absolutely no need for you to be doing advertising or distribution. We will bring to you the finished product, and we will deliver it to you. And the deal that her team worked out was 50% of all proceeds are going to the individual theater. No, excuse me. 50% is going to AMC.
Right.
No, scratch that. 50% is going to the individual theaters. And then the other 50% is being split between Taylor Swift and AMC. However, nobody knows whether it is an equitable split or whether she is getting 49% and AMC is getting 1%. But kudos to anybody who sits there and looks at the Hollywood studios and tells them to go fuck off, especially after what they've done to the writers and the actors. Ron, back to you.
Well, real quick, as Alex said, who is the they that's trying to project a rags to riches story? I literally have never heard that about Taylor Swift.
No. They is the Jews.
Oh, okay. Never mind. My mistake.
The Jews. I mean, everyone talks about those. Everybody wants to believe the story starts at the Holocaust and that they've come back from there. But the story goes back thousands of years, back to when they were slaves of the Egyptians. I mean, we'll save that. We'll save that for another time. Walk me through the experience, Ron. Walk me through it.
So, it is like Friday night. It is like Christmas Eve. My wife is excited to go to sleep and wake up in the morning to be able to go to this movie. Couldn't even sleep. She got up at like 6 a.m. and started making friendship bracelets to wear to this movie. And I, of course, get up at my usual, 8 a.m., have a couple cups of coffee, very intent as to making sure I'm aware of when we need to leave to get there in time, all that. So we're driving out there, right? And she's like, oh, I was reading that they cut like 3 songs from the concert, so they're not playing the entire concert. And then so like my head starts going like I remember when Travis Kelce was talking about going to the show in Philadelphia, and he was like, oh yeah, she does like 44 songs. So all of a sudden in my head, I'm like, all right, so we've got 44 songs minus 3. So we're looking at like 41 songs at like Harvard. I'm like, how long is this movie? She's like,
Yeah.
like 2.5, 3 hours. I don't know. It's a 2 hour and 49-minute runtime, Brian. And they apparently cut 7 songs from the concert.
So they kept it under 3 hours.
They kept it under 3 hours. With previews, a solid 3 hours.
That is that's respect to the movie going audience. T Swift is delivering value. As one of the chosen people, you know me, I love good value. If I go see a movie and I get an 88-minute movie, I feel I've been ripped off regardless of the plot or the quality of acting. I want something that's going 2 hours and 40 minutes. This way, it's a deal.
Did you want to hear my story, Brian, or are you just going to tell your story? I don't want to keep secrets just to keep you, Brian, but I'm trying to tell this story. So,
okay.
Oh, and this is the other thing. So, I get dressed, pair of jeans, zip up, pullover, whatever. I come downstairs. She's like, "Oh, is that what you're wearing?" And I'm like, she's like, "I just thought maybe you'd wear something more fun." Why?
Okay, hold on. What was Mrs. Ron wearing at that moment?
I mean, she had she had jeans, she had, her cute little boots on, she had like a sweater, she had her bracelets on, the whole 9 yards. I'm like, she's like, I thought maybe I guess I didn't have enough color going on, Brian. I had blue going on.
Sure.
It happens. So we get to the movie theater. Now, I have been bribed by being told, I will buy you beers throughout the entire movie. That was what my wife said to me. I will buy you beers through the entire movie. I'm like, good, because I'm probably going to need them. So
2 hours and 49 minutes of a movie, Ron. That's at least and I've seen you put them away. That's about 9 beers.
Right. So we get, and again, 11 a.m. showing. So we get to the movie theater around 10:35, 10:40, and we get in line to get our tickets scanned, and the guy, I'm like, I said, bar's clearly not open. I'm like, what time does the bar open? The guy's like, I don't know. He's like, he's like, it was very, he's like, I don't want to get into that. I'm like, all right, well, bar's not open. Let's find out. So we go to get in line to get some refreshments. Let me tell you, movie concession pricing, I don't want to sound like an ancient man, but
sure.
The people who run Yankee Stadium look at the concession prices at an AMC movie theater and they get jealous. They're like, boy, we wish we could rip our guests off that much.
Sure. How much is popcorn?
Well, you can't just get popcorn, Brian. You have to get the official Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie metal tin that your popcorn goes in. So altogether, we're walking away at $66. Do you remember what we got?
Oh shit! You spent $60 on the concessions?
Yeah. And so finally, I'm like, I finally find somebody at the concession stand that knows what's going on with the bar. She's like, "Oh, the bar will open at noon." I'm like, all right, just
so you have to put a solid hour of Taylor Swift.
Got to put a solid hour into it, right?
Wow. Okay.
Now, in the meantime, it is clearly obvious to me that I'm the oldest person there without children in tow. Very possibly could just be the oldest person there in general, but definitely the oldest person without any children accompanying me. And I notice people noticing me there, and people are they're opening their Citizens app, they're checking, they're going on the Megan's Law website and saying, is this guy registered? Should we be worried?
Sure.
And I'm just like, and it's a very younger crowd, I would say.
Yes.
The
so
kids
you saw it at 11 o'clock. You saw it at 11 o'clock. So was this the first showing of the day or no?
No, there was a 10:30 showing also.
Okay. So you're seeing the second showing of the day.
Right.
Demographically, break down the crowd. Age group, what was the percentage of that age group? What was, how many adults were there to kids?
Right.
Of the kids, what was the average age? What are we talking here?
Sure. I mean, I would say it was probably a 60-40 mix, like 60% were kids, 40% were adults. We were not the only adults there without kids, but
Okay.
we were most definitely the oldest people there without kids. Like there was clearly like, that you could tell by the look on if you saw other couples without kids and you saw the look on the guy's face, and it was the same look on my face, like just here to make her happy. But those people were all, I would say, in their late 20s, early 30s. And the kids were probably primarily in that 8 to 12-year-old range.
Okay. 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 You're waiting in line at the concessions. You were starting to grasp what the crowd is going to be. What's the excitement level of those around you compared to what you're feeling at that moment?
I mean, I am just like, I'm steeling myself up. I'm strengthening my inner resolve, saying it's just 3 hours. I can get through this. I like some
Right.
Taylor Swift music. I will not say I know all of her music, but I listen to some of it and it doesn't bother me. So I'm like, all right, hopefully this will just be entertaining and fun for all.
Sure,
The children, however, are much more excited about this than I am.
Mhm,
There's
mhm.
running going around. There's a lot of like, again, it's like Christmas morning for these kids too. And so
Now,
you
is there
go
any
in-
trading of friendship bracelets in the lobby area?
Not that I saw. I was also attempting not to really look at children that much, lest I be asked to leave or people call the authorities on me. I did not want anything, weird to be thought of about me, because it was already weird enough that I'm there. I'm like, just keep looking straight ahead. Just focus. Oh, there's some lights up there. Just focus. Just straight focus, So we get to our seats. Nice seats, recliners, everything else. Thankfully,
Sure,
there
sure.
wasn't anybody sitting next to us. I mean, it was weird because it was a sold out show, but not everybody showed up. Who
Well,
knows what that-
sometimes kids wake up with tummy aches and they can't make
Yeah.
their parents just keep them home.
Exactly. Way too many previews. I would say easily like 12 or 15 previews. But they had a
What
cap
kind
of
of
waters.
what kind of things were they showing previews for? Was it
So
things for
it
little
was
kids, things for adults,
it was a
porn,
mix. It was
like
I
what?
would say it was probably 70% animated stuff and then some adult stuff. Did not realize that they are doing a remake of Mean Girls, apparently. And also didn't realize they're doing a modern readaptation of The Color Purple.
Mhm.
Learn that.
Yeah.
Learn that.
Now, if I can quote Ali, I'm going to question to you and say, why do the girls have to be mean? Why is Hollywood assuming that
Exactly.
girls are mean inherently? Why can't they make a movie called Friendly Girls
I think
or
that's an excellent
Supportive Girls
Yep.
or girls who lift and support each other? Like, why do they have to be mean girls? I don't like that, Ron.
I don't know.
Okay.
Um,
So you're watching like 12, I think we figured out 12 minutes of previews pretty much.
yeah, about that.
Okay.
So
The
finally,
lights dim. The lights
Lights dim.
dim.
yes.
Yes, keep going.
All right. And the movie starts, and it is all filmed at SoFi Stadium out in California. So I
Sure.
think she did 2 or 3 nights there. It's probably a compilation over the few nights.
Sure.
And it just it just gets right into it. Like it's literally just a concert film. Like
So there's no
not-
backstage. There's no like
no
Taylor
backstage,
preparing
no
for the
prayer
show.
circles, no nothing. And so
I mean,
you
we
know.
do a prayer circle. We do a prayer circle before every show.
Correct.
I don't believe, it's one of the things you, and I respect you for it. You have said that's something that just you and I do. That is not
Right.
open for other people. When we have
don't
guests
share.
on the show, we say to them, come on at 8:15, because we do not want that awkward moment where we have to say to them, at 7:55, you can't partake in our prayer circle. It has to just be us.
So the concept, which again, I just figure this is just, I know it was like the Eras tour, and as my wife has often told me, there will never be another tour like this again. Apparently what it comes down to is Taylor apparently released like 5 albums without doing a tour for, each album as she normally,
Okay.
as an artist normally would do. So it is literally each album she considers an era of her music. And so she is going to do those songs. She's going to do a collection of songs from each of those 5 albums, from, beginning to end.
Question. Now, she plays the songs from from each era chronologically, or it's just interspersed throughout the entire set list?
So each set list is an era. So like whatever, like 1989 is an era. So she would do however
Okay.
many songs from that. I believe it was chronological. Again, I'm not going to say I know enough about the albums.
But during the film, she does those songs from 1989. You said she does that as a chunk in the
Yes.
movie, and then she
Yes.
moves on to the next album, and she does
Correct.
a chunk of songs from that period of time, and
Exactly.
then she moves on. Okay.
Exactly.
Is there any type of demarcation so that
Yes.
oh, hold on a second, we're changing?
So
How do they
and
do
it's an-
that? How
and
do they
it's
do that
and
in the
it's an
film?
amazing stage show. Like I will say, unlike anything you will see, it's a huge stage show, huge production. And so basically what changes, it'll be so basically like the screens will show the name of whatever the era you're now moving into. The
Mhm.
stage setup changes, her outfit changes, the color of the microphone changes. Brian, I mean, come on, it's a top notch performance. Listen, again, not 100% my cup of tea, but very impressive nonetheless.
Okay. Your how is your wife reacting to this? Does it meet her expectations?
She
Is it
she
exceeded?
loves it. There's definitely some songs that she would lean over and be like, this isn't one of my favorites, but it's still pretty good. But then there are other
Okay.
songs where she'd be like, she wrote this about her grandmother, and her grandmother never lived to see her become Taylor and perform this song live. This song is about Jake Gyllenhaal. I hear she does the 10-minute version of it. I'm like, oh great, 10 minutes, outstanding. Like I
Does she
figured
really
out.
do a 10-minute verse to a 10-minute
Oh
song?
yeah. But I figured out the analogy. I'm like, this is like what my wife goes through when we go to a Marvel movie. Is like a character will pop up on screen, and I'll be like, so the backstory of this guy. So like I got that at points, and and I gave her the same glazed over look that she gives me in the Marvel movies. It's just kind of like, really, her grandmother? Yeah, no, Nana. Yeah, no, I get it.
I love this so much. Is okay. So what is the I've seen on TikTok a variety of crowd reactions during the movie. I have seen where it is the entire audience standing up, singing along aloud. I've seen
Right.
some where uh, uh, certain people in the audience rush to the front of the stage, right where the screen is, and they start singing along in front of the stage, almost as if like
And
they're
you were kind
performing.
enough to send me multiple TikToks of this happening in various movie
Oh.
theaters. And so that
I
was
think
my.
I sent you about 12 of them because I was damned if I was not going to bastardize your algorithm in advance of seeing this. I wanted you to know exactly what you were walking into. So starting on Friday, I believe it was almost all throughout the day Friday, I just kept sending you
Yes.
more and more forwards of the experience inside a Taylor Swift Eras movie. What was yours?
So I will say this, and so my wife was hoping that would be the experience, that it would literally just turn into like a dance party.
Sure.
It was, I think, again, because it was early, it was a younger crowd. It was a little bit more reserved. You definitely heard people singing along at times. There's one point in the movie where she sings some slow song and everybody kind of lights up their cell phones, and I look back and everybody in the theater was doing that. But yeah.
Ron,
Yes.
did you light your cell phone?
I did not. I was like, I'm like, it tells you at the beginning of the movie to please put your cell phone away. I don't know why.
Understood.
I'm like, the
Understood.
dancing bucket of popcorn tells you not to play with your cell phone. So yeah. And finally, I'm like, all right, it's 12:05. I'm like, I feel like I've given the bar enough time to open. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
but I'm treating it like a concert. I'm like, I'm not gonna walk out in the middle of a song in front of people. Feels
Okay,
rude.
that's very respectful.
So I wait till one of the songs is over, but then I'm like, beeline it out to the bar. So
Sure.
I get out to the bar and I walk up, and everything still looks closed at the bar, but there's a bartender there, and
Okay, progress.
I'm like, all right. I'm like, I walk up and she's like, well, what do you want? And she's like fiddling with keys, trying to get stuff to open. I'm like,
She's setting up. She's setting up.
she's trying to set up, and I'm like, I want a beer and a Tito's and club, and she's like, I can do the Tito's. She's like, the problem with these keys, I can't get any beer out. And then she couldn't get the Tito's out, and I'm like, and there's a woman waiting for wine. Like, so apparently there was an issue with the keys, but thankfully a couple minutes later, some manager came by and managed to get everything open. So I did manage to get a beer, but I only had one because I'm like, you know what?
Right.
I drove here. If I keep drinking during this entire 3-hour episode, I won't be able to drive home. So I had a beer. I went back in, and it was fairly uneventful. I will say it was from a concert film perspective. Forget if
Sure.
you like Taylor Swift or not. I would say it's probably one of the most well done concert films you will ever see.
How would you compare that to my personal favorite concert film, which is Gimme Shelter, the story of the Rolling Stones tour from 1969 leading up to the Altamont San Francisco disaster? How would you compare the concert films?
So real quick, excellent question from Janelle. How much was the beer? So I had a 16-ounce can of Fat Tire lager or ale, one or the other, and got the Tito's and Club with tip, $28.
Very reasonable. So wait a second. So you spent the 66 plus the 28?
Oh yeah. So we dropped almost $100 just in the movie theater itself.
What was in the $66? You got
We
popcorn,
had,
I'm assuming.
there was
'Cause you had to get
popcorn, there were nachos, there was some candy. Like, we had enough for 3 hours, and a
Sure,
soda
sure.
and a water. So
Okay.
yeah, the bar prices were reasonable. The
Very
rest of the stuff,
reasonable.
absolutely ridiculous.
Sure, sure.
What was your question again?
Doesn't matter. I don't think it wasn't a genuine question. So the crowd seemed to be nothing, I don't want to say that it was demure, but it certainly wasn't over the top. Nothing that
It was not.
that was there at any
Oh, you asked
point.
me about Gimme Shelter. I would say as good as Gimme Shelter, and nobody had to get trampled to death.
If you had watched Gimme Shelter and you understood what would happen, people got stabbed to death by Hell's Angels.
there was
Nobody was actually trampled. Got to get it right.
Sorry. But no, very well done. Great stage show. Again, if this is your
Billy, hold
I'm
up.
not-
Billy makes a great point. Are you
Yeah.
an AMC subs member?
They showed it on the screen, and it's been, I can't tell you how long it's been since I've seen an actual movie in an actual theater. I am not a Stubs member. I did not get points for it. It was lesson learned, Brian. Lesson learned.
Terrible. Now, my next question to you is this: when will your wife be taking you to go see this again? Because the thing that I keep reading about is the subtleties. There are so many subtleties to this film. There are scenes, there are angles, there are,
You're just making that up right now.
No, there, the second viewing, I've seen multiple people on Instagram, on Facebook Reels, who are saying that the third time they've seen this movie, they've picked up things that they did not, absorb the first time they saw this movie.
I think she realizes that I attended it once, and that'll be it.
All right. You
But
mentioned.
listen,
Yes.
Mad respect to Taylor Swift. My wife
100%.
pointed out an article that this whole concert tour, by the time everything is said and done, will have had like an $80 billion impact on the world economy.
I read recently.
Insane.
Oh, no. But it's not even just Taylor Swift. If you look at the combination of Taylor Swift's Eras tour and Beyonce's Renaissance tour,
Okay.
the two of them contributed so much economic activity that in many sectors they kept the economy from ever getting close to a recession this past year. Everybody was looking at the Federal Reserve that was raising interest rates. People were saying that this was going to drive America into a recession, but the activity, the money generated by Taylor Swift, by Beyonce, with their concerts across the country generated so much revenue. It put so much money that was being moved from person to person, from not just people buying tickets, but people buying concessions and merchandise, and then all the secondary and tertiary passes of that money. Jobs created.
Hotels, you look at restaurants, you look at flights.
Yes.
So if you want to hear a pretty incredible statistic, so Taylor Swift was in Philadelphia earlier this year. She did a couple of shows over a weekend. So Center City Hotels, downtown hotels in Philadelphia, it's about 12,000 hotel rooms in Philadelphia, maybe 13,000. It's been a while since I counted. For the weekend that she was here, they ran 98% occupancy at an average rate of around $450.
God bless him. God bless him. That's money she's not even seeing. That has nothing to do with her. That is just people, being able to generate economic activity linked to her.
And my wife asked, like, what does that compare to? And I said, it literally doesn't compare to anything. Like, the occupancy, obviously, the downtown area has been sold out before, but at that average rate, like it was higher than when the Democratic National Convention was here. It was higher than other major conventions, higher than when the U.S. Golf Open was here. Like, it is in a level that it's Super Bowl level.
Sure.
I hear Tay takes care of her dancers, and a very diverse group of dancers. A lot of various ethnicities, a lot of various body types. Like, she is very very inclusive.
She is also inclusive to Taylor Kelsey. Is that his name? Travis Kelsey.
Trailer apparently is their couple name.
Interesting. Oh, by the way, I have to ask you, how do you feel about the Jets beating your Eagles?
I mean, listen, with the way the Eagles played, Jalen Hurts throws 3 interceptions, bound to happen. They missed an easy field goal.
Jets, Jets. Well,
Are
Ron, what are you watching?
So what am I watching? Well, obviously the Taylor Swift movie, but also watching The Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix, 8-episode based on the short story by Edgar Allan Poe, by the same people that did the fall of Haunted House or some other horror thing. Excellent, very good so far.
Now, at any point, does this have to do with the fact that Usher was just spending so much money as he was producing
not that actual
Justin Bieber song?
Not Usher the singer, no.
Oh, that's a shame. Okay, so you're watching the House of Usher.
Also watching Big Vape, The Rise and Fall of Jewel. So that's 2 episodes into that.
Jewel, as in the singer Jewel?
Jewel is in the JUUL, the vaping device.
Oh, okay. I thought you were so obsessed with blonde female singers who started off with a country route and then shifted over to complete pop positions. But keep going. Okay, so Big Vape, that's a series or just a documentary?
It's a docu-series, so we're 2 episodes in. Very interesting so far. We watched Totally Killer. That was on Amazon Prime. So that's like a horror movie about a girl that ends up going back in time to 1987 to stop a killer. I would call it like very much hot tub time machine type with a horror twist to it.
Okay.
It was watchable.
Less funny than Hot Tub
Less
Time
funny,
Machine.
much less funny. What about
Didn't
yourself,
think that was
Brian? What do you
possible.
watch?
Oh, I finally got around to watching Severance on Apple TV.
Great series.
Just a great series. Watched 9 episodes, which is odd because most TV shows now are 6, 8, 10. It's very rare to see 9 episodes.
Yes.
I was basically over the past week or so went back to it. I tried watching it multiple times and could never get past episode 1. Lose my interest in the first.
It is slow to start.
But once you get over that hump of episode 1 to 2, you really start to get invested in the characters. You start to really follow that story. Knocked out Severance. Can't wait for season 2. They ended it on a cliffhanger. It is not a feel-good ending to season 1. Clearly, season 2 is just going to be a continuation. Not a spoiler alert. I'm not giving anything away. But it definitely ends in a manner where you are sitting there saying, okay, how does this story continue? Also, you mentioned earlier watching a Marvel. As we had promised each other earlier this week, I watched the first episode of Loki on Disney Plus.
We'll need to do that.
Maybe not. I'm going to tell you something. For the 56 minutes of episode 1, I found myself highly confused. Not sure that it made any sense, and I believe I needed Neil deGrasse Tyson to explain to me the physics of what they were talking about, because none of it made sense to me. And I watched all of season 1 and followed the TVA and the Time Variance Association
Authority.
Close enough. But this episode, literally, it just felt like they geeked out on the physics a tad too much for my tastes, and ended up just very confused. But I already see episode 2 is already out. I think they released 2 episodes at once, so I'm going to give episode 2 a shot. And I also completed the first season of Ahsoka, starring Rosario Dawson. You know me, I'm a sucker for Star Wars.
You are.
So that was, I believe, either 8 or 9 episodes. I don't remember. Not a big fan of these shows where it's 1 episode a week. I do enjoy being able to watch them at my own pace. But I watched Ahsoka. Enjoyed it. Not as good as Endor or the Obi-Wan story, but definitely it is. You see Anakin Skywalker come back. No spoiler alert there. Everybody knows. It's
everybody knows.
A lot of people said that was one of the reasons they were watching it, and just overall an enjoyable show. And that's what I'm watching.
All right.
And also,
real quick,
hold on. Yes.
We have run out of time to really take a deep dive into the whole Israel situation, but I do want to ask you one question. You are our senior Jewish Middle East correspondent, so I feel like you have a lot of knowledge about this. So the only question I'm going to ask, because I've listened to a lot, I've heard a lot,
which is the only thing you can do is listen.
Correct. Is it possible to acknowledge the brutality and inhumanity of the actions Hamas took last week, while also acknowledging Israel's right to defend its citizens from attack, while also acknowledging that Israel's treatment of the Palestinians for however long is also extremely problematic and a humanitarian nightmare?
Ron, I'm glad you asked me that question. It's an important question to ask, and I've prepared a statement, if you would.
Please, take it away.
We recognize that many members of the Ron and Brian podcast community are affected by the violence against innocent lives and people in Israel and Gaza. We also recognize that many people here in the US and Canada are experiencing ongoing fear for their personal safety as a result. The Ron and Brian podcast unequivocally condemns anti-Semitism and all forms of discrimination on the basis of religion or country of origin. Our community guidelines and terms of service prohibit harassment or discrimination on the basis of religion, national origin, race, gender, gender identity or expression, physical or mental disability, medical condition, marital status, age, or sexual orientation. Viewers and listeners who violate these terms of service will be banned from the Ron and Brian podcast universe. We have a strong community and consistently work to ensure that our listeners and viewers feel safe. If you experience harassment or discrimination, we urge you to report it to ronandbrianpodcast@gmail.com, our email address. We have not seen an increase of incidents, but we are monitoring the situation very closely. We remain committed to fostering an inclusive community that is safe and welcoming. Thank you for being a valued member of the Ron and Brian podcast community.
All right. And on that, we will start to get ready for After Dark, our Patreon-only exclusive half hour that starts in about 20 minutes. If you are not yet a Patreon subscriber, go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, click in the upper right-hand corner, and become a member right away. Brian, anything additional before we wrap up this week?
It's great to be back.
All right. Brian, please don't ever become a stranger whose laugh I could recognize everywhere. Have a good week, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again.